Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk, back another video day. And today, the San Francisco 49ers have released linebacker Devondre Campbell, who refused to play in the second half of last night's game for I don't even know what reason. Apparently, it's just his ego. And 100% glad that the 49ers released this piece of crap. I actually really liked Campbell when he was in Green Bay. He was actually really good in Green Bay. Ever since he's left Green Bay, he's kind of slowly declined and joined San Francisco. And for some reason, he didn't want to play in the second half last night. I mean, as far as we know, he wasn't injured. Just his ego. Did not want to play in the game to replace Dre Greenlaw, who, by the way, Dre Greenlaw played his butt off last night. Not even a year coming off a torn Achilles. 10 months later, playing in a game where they're fighting for their season. Last night, the 49ers lost, which they did, was a game where you needed your defense. No touchdown scored. There were, 2 field goals for the 49ers, 4 for the Rams. It was a field goal game. We saw 6 field goals last night. It was 12-6 was the final score. It was a defensive game. You needed your defensive guys out there. And Dre Greenlaw played his butt off. And really, I think in the second half of the ball game, he really needed to take a break. And they needed to give him some rest with how hard he was working in the first half. I mean, I think he came out and played like over the first 10 snaps of the ball game, and was really, really, really just killing it to start off the game for a guy who was coming off 10 months ago, torn his Achilles. So you would think, I would think a good teammate would have been, even though they have this ego problem, they know, Dre Greenlaw, he's doing everything he can to make sure the team playoff hope stay alive. So he should get his butt into the football game. The 49ers, if they lost last night, their playoff hopes went down to 0.5%. If they won, it went up to 16.5%, which going into the game, their playoff chances were at 13%. The 49ers, it's not impossible for them to get into the playoffs, but it's near impossible for them to get into the playoffs. And you'll only wonder what could have been different if Devondre Campbell decides to put himself, actually come into the game. And I really, sincerely, truly hope this guy never plays in the NFL again. I hope he never gets a job again in the NFL. Whether that's being a player, a coach, an analyst, I do not want to see this man ever again. The 49ers, you look at how many things they've gone through this year and who they have out on the field. Look, I know I'm getting a little upset about this. I'm not even a 49ers fan. It's just really upsetting to me with you look at some of the things that 49ers players have gone through this year and 49ers players have gone through in the past, and it makes Campbell look like an idiot. Let's start with a long time ago. Ronnie Lott cut off his finger just to play in a game for the 49ers. I think the saddest one here, we got Marquise Goodwin. I think this is one of the saddest things I've ever watched in the sport of football. One day, he has a little baby boy, and he does not make it. It's a stillbirth. He has his wife at the hospital. Obviously, he wants to be with his wife and mourn the loss of his son. But what does he do the next day? He goes out there on that field, the same exact field that Devondre Campbell refused to go on in the second half, and plays, even though he had just lost his child, and even though his wife was still in the hospital. And guess what happened? God was there for him because he scored a touchdown that day. Let's go over some other players that are on the current team, this 49ers team. Christian McCaffrey traveled all the way to Germany for the injury that he had to start off the year. And he was willing to travel around the world just in order to get back on the field for this team. Ricky Pearsall was shot. And where was he last night? He was on the field for the San Francisco 49ers team. Fred Warner had a broken ankle and played the entire season. Tre'Davious Ward, I mean, this is, I'm not going to say you can't really, when it's children dying, you can't really talk about which one's worse between Ward and Goodwin. But this is terrible as well. Tre'Davious Ward, his, I think, 4-year-old daughter died. Just died. Where was he last night? On the field, trying to help the 49ers get a playoff win. And then the guy, he refused to check in to give some time off, Dre Greenlaw. The guy who just came off a torn Achilles, not even a year off that injury, and he refused to come into the game for him. It's a shame. It really is a shame. And I'm not a 49ers fan, but I can tell you this guy does not represent 49ers football. I don't think he represents any football. And if anybody ever decides to give this guy a chance, I think it's just terrible. Absolutely terrible. But to 49ers fans, 49ers players, I mean, look, I wouldn't be surprised if there's 49ers fans listening. And no, there's no 49ers players listening or anybody that actually works for the 49ers. But I feel so bad for the guys that worked their butts off this season. Like Drake Greenlaw to get back on the field, Fred Warner with the injuries he's dealt through, Tre'Davious Ward literally losing a child and still playing through that. I think that's no pain anyone ever wants to go through, and I don't think there's a worse pain in this world. Ricky Pearsall, this is another bad pain, not as bad as losing a child, but was literally shot in the chest, and he was still on the field. Christian McCaffrey dealt with his injuries and traveled all around the world just in order to try to make this team better. And then you look at the past greats who have done so much in order this team. It doesn't represent 49ers football at all. And I feel so bad for the players that did so much for this team this year, the players I did mention, and their years and what they've been through this year in order to try to make this team great was just thrown away by this guy. He's a disgrace to football. Feel so bad for the 49ers players and the fans. So that sucks. But, and you know what? To be honest, just to say one honest thing, the Dallas Cowboys, for once, might have eliminated the San Francisco 49ers. That's crazy to say. I hate the Cowboys. But the only reason the San Francisco 49ers signed Devondre Campbell was because they missed out on Eric Kendricks, who signed with the Dallas Cowboys. That's nuts. I know they'd be a lot better off right now with Eric Kendricks. Eric Kendricks actually hasn't had a terrible season in Dallas, even though the defense has been so bad. I think he'd be pretty good with San Francisco right now, especially when Campbell wouldn't go on the field. But that makes it even worse, too, with Campbell. You weren't even their main choice. You were a backup choice. You weren't just a backup on the field that was supposed to replace Dre Greenlaw. You were a backup in free agency. They didn't even want him to begin with. They wanted Eric Kendricks. The Cowboys got him, and instead they went with Campbell. And you still let him down. It's really tough, but I'm glad he was released. Let me know your thoughts on the San Francisco 49ers releasing Devondre Campbell in the comment section, and peace out.